Welcome. Good evening. Hi. Thank you for joining us here at Live at 5 with the Goodman Theater. We will be talking about Fannie Lou Hamer Speak on It, our production that is being presented in partnership with the Chicago Park District. Tonight, we will hear from Henry Godinez, the director, Faye Butler, the singer, actress extraordinaire, Cheryl L. West, our playwright, and Scott Kahn, production manager. Just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who help make this event possible. We've got PNC, Abbott Fund, Allstate, and again, the Chicago Park District and the City of Chicago. We're so thankful for their support and their partnership in helping us get Fannie out into the streets. So we're going to go first to the rehearsal room at the Goodman Theater, which I haven't been to since March, but we have people there in the room. We have Henry Godinez and Faye Butler. Welcome.
Hi.
And they are socially distancing in the rehearsal room. They can't even touch. Please tell me if this is how you all have been rehearsing with your masks on. How are we rehearsing this wonderful production of Fannie?
You start.
Okay, well, I have my mask on the whole time, and Ife does, but when we start working, she's up there. And Felton offered our guitarist, he's up there as well. You see his equipment back in the back. And they are able to take their masks off once they are actually rehearsing and performing, because we are way back here and we have our masks on. We've also, as I'm sure Scott will tell you in a little bit, we've also been getting tested every week. And we have to take our temperatures every day before we come in, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I take it off, when I'm performing. But like when I go back to the table, or if I go out, I put it back on. Scott is very strict. He says we have to wear our masks. And
Yes.
So we do. No, it's a great thing. And it feels good. It's comfortable. And everything is touch-free. So like even when you go to the restroom, you don't have to touch anything. So you feel safe. You feel secure. And everything is clean constantly. All the surfaces are cleaned, and we all have our own space, even when we're not, rehearsing. Everybody has a designated area in the room for like your things and where you can have your snacks. And it's small things, like if we want to share treats, we have to bring them in individual contained and closed things to each person, opposed to like we're used to in a rehearsal hall. You bring in a thing of cookies and everybody just goes, oh, that's a cookie. No more of that. So those kinds of things that are in place makes it safe for everyone. And so it's a very safe and sanitary place.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's, I've been reading lots of articles about how theater will be changed in this moment. And I think you all are at the forefront of that. And so I'm very honored to be in conversation with you right as you're in the middle of this process. Please tell us about Fannie Lou Hamer. Who is Fannie and what is this production?
Well, I'm going to let Fannie tell you herself, because, it's rare that you get her in person.
Yeah. She was a freedom worker, and she was a civil rights leader. And she was an amazing singer, but not the kind of singer that most people will expect. She didn't sing because she had necessarily a beautiful voice. It was the spirit of the song and the passion. And that's why so many people loved for her to be at rallies, because the spirit that she had would lead the crowd, and she could turn a crowd out. And so this was a woman that gave her life selflessly to make sure that other people had some of the opportunities she never had. I think a lot of people don't know that she didn't get the right to vote till she was 44 years old. And to know that for 44 years, she could have voted at a point, but she didn't know that, because she was a sharecropper. She was from Mississippi, Ruleville, Mississippi. And she went through a lot of hard times. And because of that, she wanted to ensure that everyone understood they had the right to vote. And so she spent her life making sure. She worked with SNCC, the Student Nonviolent, which was John Lewis was the head of. And so that was very important for her. She went door to door. She constantly knocked on anyone and everyone's door. She helped people even after she got to a point that a lot of people probably wouldn't have helped anymore. Even when she didn't have to, she had a farm where she made sure that there were crops being grown to give to people that didn't have food. She didn't want any family, any child to be hungry. She had even had pigs, and the pigs she would share with another family, so that as that pig had piglets, then the big pig would come back, and then she would make sure that everybody, because that pig could be your meat, chickens. She had an entire farm. She had housing. They built homes for people that didn't have homes. And up till the day I hear that she died, people would still come to her home, and people would send from all over the country clothing. She never wanted it for herself. She always gave it to anyone. She never wanted to see any child not educated, no family hungry. And she constantly wanted everyone to know you have the right, and people have died so you could vote. And that was the most important thing in what she lived her life, and it was her passion. And she was a real inspiration. She could preach, she could speak, she could talk. So I think when you see this particular show, you will feel the spirit, because you can't be in a room and hear her words, and especially with Cheryl West pushing it forward like she has. You're going to have an experience of your life. I know you are. I know you are. There's no park large enough to cover and shoot her down. She will rise over everything because she never stopped and never stopped giving.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction to her life. I've been doing a little bit of research as well, and as part of the education series, I'm the Associate Director of Education and Engagement. We produce study guides, and so we're in partnership, and we'll be making sure that our schools and our students and our teachers have access to this as well. And what you're talking about also makes me think of the mutual aid work that's happening right now around the city, right? And how people are really just showing up and supporting and taking care of each other, which is what you all are doing as well, right? In the way that you're having to adjust in the rehearsal room right now. Henry, I'd love to hear you talk about your process as a director in this moment. You know, how are things the same, and how are they different?
Well, in the rehearsal room, it's all the things that that we've talked about, and one of the hardest things, as our stage manager will tell you, is my own personal inclinations as a director. Is when I have a note or there's something to talk about. It's just the way I work, to go up to an actor and to and talk very quietly and personally, because I think it respects the actor's process. I'm not the kind of director that sits back at the table and yells out the directions. So Brianna, our amazing stage manager, is constantly reminding me about 6 feet, and so that's hard. And Ife and I have known each other a long time, and the other hard thing is to walk in the room and not to be able to hug someone.
Hi, how you doing?
At the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. So that's hard. But for this particular rendition of this awesome play, we are working on and Scott will go into this, I'm sure, but it's a trailer that folds out. If you look on the floor, I don't know how much you can tell, it's taped out, but basically where you see those gray panels, that is literally the size of the trailer, and one side of it folds out to be a stage, like a small stage where the microphone is, and so we have a limited amount of space to work on. And so part of the fun that we've been having this week is, as Hamlet says, suiting the action to the word, right? Finding where it is, what are the little movements or the little actions that really underscore the text, that support the text, that support Ife's emotional journey in her performance, that are just the right balance, especially given that we're going to be outside and we don't want to distract, and at the same time we want to animate enough energy so that people can feel it. 20, 30, 40 feet, 50 feet away. So it's been interesting in that way. I do have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I know, right, this play existed. We saw it in some form before now. What drew you to this particular play, Henry? And if you could talk a little bit about why it feels important to be doing it out in the parks right now in this moment.
You bet. Well, I mean, Cheryl West drew me to this play, and Ife. Cheryl and Ife and I had worked together the year before on a new play, another new play of Cheryl's called Last Stop on Market Street, which is an adaptation of a young audience book, or young audience, a children's book by a gentleman named Matt De La Pena. And so the three of us had a pretty darn good time working on that piece. And when Cheryl asked me if I would be interested in directing it, you know, there was a moment of pause where I said to Cheryl, are you sure that, you wouldn't rather have an African-American director work on this? But, Cheryl and Ife and I all share, I'm Cuban, and we all kind of share an affinity. Ife has been to Cuba, had a really kind of impactful journey to Cuba as part of a delegation, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, and also, I personally, I love the idea that communities of color can work together to advance the ideas and the experiences of BIPOC people in our country, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And so I was very honored to be invited on this journey. And Fannie, I grew up in the South, and as well. So it was a story that really spoke to me. It's a journey that is still going on, a message that we maybe more than ever need to hear in this country, because a lot of the same situations that Fannie struggled against, voter suppression, civil unrest, police brutality, these are things that are still happening in our country today. Hunger, injustice.
Children being hungry.
I mean, that's a big one. Fannie was the youngest of 20 children. I'm the second youngest of 10 kids, but Fannie was the youngest of 20 children, and she suffered from polio when she was a child. And still, she made it her life's mission to help other people selflessly. And that's the kind of humanity that always draws me to a theatrical story.
I know we're going to have to let you all go soon. You've been in rehearsal all day. You're in the building, and the building needs to close. And so I'd just love to hear any more reflection that you have as a performer, and what it's like to embody on Fannie in this moment.
Well, it's an amazing honor, first and foremost. When Cheryl told me about this a couple years ago, I got something for you, is what she kept saying. I got something for you, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. And then she sent me the script. I was like, okay, so when do you want to hear it? Because I know she's a listener. I said, when do you want to hear your words? I want to do it. I want to do it. And so to be in this moment and to know that something that we thought and still will happen in the season, but only, and I believe this, only God knows the right season for things to happen and the order that they should happen. So this play, although it's truncated, is happening in the right season. This is when she was to come back, Fannie, and do this piece. And it's just a perfect time. Unfortunately, with all of the things we're going through as a country, we need to hear these words. We need to feel hope. And that's what this piece does. And it gives me a great honor to know that I can stand on stage and help bring some of the joy and the love that she had for her country. Because she's patriotic. For her country, to know that I can stand on stage and those words, and she can use me as a vessel to get message out via Henry, via Cheryl, via Felton is an amazing honor. So I'm here to take the journey as a human being more than an actress. This is a human call. This is not an acting call. And that is the joy in doing Fannie Speak On It.
I'm getting chills sitting right here in my office listening to you. So I can only imagine, what that experience will be like. Thank you so much. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gwenna.
Thank
you,
you.
Gwenna, for helping us out, because I know that you, in your capacity as the associate, director of education and community programs, helped to designate the parks and find just the right balance of parks for Fannie to go to. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll say goodbye to you now, or see you later. I'll see you
on
the south side.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Good night. Okay, so now we are going to bring on Scott Kahn, production manager, and Cheryl L. West, the playwright of this wonderful piece. Welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Hi.
Take a little second to talk about the parks. So we will be in 9 parks over the total of the weeks that we'll be out. We have 3 Southside parks, we have 3 parks on the North Side, and 3 that are in Central and Austin location. And so our partners at the Chicago Park District have been instrumental in helping us identify those. I am proud that one of the parks is around the corner from my house, and I get to bike over, so I'm very, very excited about that. But in those conversations, there's been so much talk, so many emails, so many meetings about what it means, what the safety protocols have been. And so, Scott, I'd love to hear you just talk about, how has that process been, just getting us in the parks, and what all have we had to do to support our performers out in those spaces?
Well, it has taken the whole community of the Goodman Theater to really make this happen. So it's taken the participation of our artistic department, the production department, the facilities department, our general managers and managing directors to really work this. And it all started with really developing a safety plan to make sure that everybody would be safe in the theaters, taking the recommendations from all of the building standards of how we run our heating and ventilation and the air conditioning in the building, to the cleaning protocols, to ensuring to the unions that we were providing a safe environment for their members, for our actors, for our employees. And it's not so much the unions. The Goodman Theater wants to make sure that everybody's healthy and safe, and putting them in the best possible environment that we can. And it took a lot of work and it took a lot of effort, but we really got it there, and we're really excited to be bringing a show back during this time.
That's awesome. Thank you. I can't even imagine what your job has looked like for the past several months. So kudos to you for helping us get through all of the necessary pieces. Cheryl, welcome. I'm so
Thank you.
glad to be in conversation with you. And so we know that this version of Fannie Lou Hamer Speak On is a shortened, condensed version. What has it been like for you adjusting or rewriting for this particular journey with you?
Well, one of the things, I'm so happy that Scott and the Goodman worked so hard on the safety protocols. But one of the things we had to change when it was first constructed, the audience participation was part of the show, because it is a rally. And so Fannie sings, but the audience also sings with her. But one of the safety protocols for COVID was that we could not encourage audiences to sing just for their own safety. We're going to have masks on. But so that I had to go through the script to take out all those types of references to come on and sing with me. No, we can't do that. So we were very, looking at how we could make things a little bit shorter the song shorter, all of that text to be just a little bit more economical, though the power of it is still intact. And that's what's really important. The story is still there, but we want to make it safe. We want to make it enjoyable, and it's still really entertaining. I mean, the work Felton, Henry, and Ife have done is extraordinary.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have, in reading the script, I can sort of see the songs and I know them, right? I know many of them, and will just imagine having to contain my joy, keeping my songs, maybe humming. Maybe I can hum under my masks.
We do encourage clapping along, so you can clap along.
That's great. That's great. What are you expecting, or what are you hoping? What else, I guess, are you hoping the audiences take away from this version?
I'm really hoping that, first of all, we honor this woman who gave so much to us. So that would be first and foremost. I mean, as a writer, I'm always looking for stories about unsung heroes, people that inspire me on my own courage journey. And this woman had just miraculous courage. It's amazing. And because my family is from Mississippi originally, it's such a joy to be able to write in certain vernacular, Southern vernacular, and her speech pattern, because I know it from being around my great-grandparents and my grandparents. And my mother was born in Mississippi as well. So it's exciting to be able to tell her story, but also the words that she's come to tell us is to say, learn from the past, learn from the challenges we had, arm yourself. Her favorite prayer was, I arm myself with God. So she didn't have much fear. I was able to talk to her campaign manager, who's still alive in Mississippi. And he said to me, I said, did she ever show fear? He said, no, Miss Hamer didn't, but my knees would be knocking half the time. So she just was amazing in that regard. And I think because we're afraid right now, the country is in turmoil. We have so many things that are coming at us. I'm in Washington right now. We have the fires and, the pandemic and unemployment. But what she came to say is that even through all of those challenges, if we stay a United States of America, we can get through this together. We can support each other. We have a moral obligation to connect to each other. We have a moral obligation to speak up at what's wrong and to fight for justice. And so if I can get an audience to just get inspired by her words, then I think then we've done what we came here to do. And what Fannie Lou came here to do. And with all the roadblocks, and Scott knows there have been some, I have a picture of her over my desk. And I would say, Fannie, you want this to happen? Please work it out up there. And so I feel like it's a spiritual journey. We all feel like we're on a mission, the Goodman and all the company that are working to make this happen. So and then Fannie's overseeing us. So I think we're all in good hands.
Absolutely. I believe that. Scott, are there any of those roadblocks that we can talk about in this moment? I don't know that we can talk about all of them, but
I think there was many roadblocks. I mean, Cheryl brought up the call and response. That was a big one, and that's one of the big energies of the show. And I think Ife and Cheryl and Henry, we had a great group of collaborators when we came into those things to really come up with creative solutions for how to do it. One of the things is we found this stage trailer, this trailer that converts to a stage. And this was a part of how to make this successful, is because we're keeping it contained to that area on the stage. And we worked on things like we're creating a perimeter around that stage that will keep the public safe distance away from the trailer, as well as keeping the public safe distance away from our staff and employees and performers. working with the Chicago Park District was about finding locations within the parks that allowed us to sort of set this up and allow people to sit a distance away, and then the Chicago Parks District is going to manage making sure that the audience, that people who come to attend this, to see this, sit with social distancing. So we've been responsible for the stage area on this trailer, and the area around that, and the Chicago Parks District have been working with us, and that's been a great collaboration. I can't say enough in support of the city of Chicago and the Chicago Parks District also for really engaging in this, because I think this is, I think this is one of the big disappointments of not being able to put this complete show on stage in the fall here, which we had planned to do, because it was a hugely exciting show for me to be looking at, thinking about, and getting to work with Ife and Henry again, and getting a chance to meet and work with Cheryl was a real, when we realized we couldn't do this, it was, how do we do this? And Henry brought up this idea of taking it out into the public. And I think everybody at the Goodman, Cheryl, Ife, everyone just really bought into it right away and knew how important this was. And it was an all hands on deck. It was just this is the right thing to be doing now. And there was no questions that the work and effort that needed to be put into it was going to be put into it to try to make it happen. And it was going to be things that were beyond our control. That was the only reason it wouldn't happen. And here we go. And I can't wait to see this up on the trailer next week and in the parks starting Thursday next week. And I've toured these parks, and it's just it's an amazing new thing for the Goodman to be doing, is to take our work really out into the public and present it in a way. But those speed bumps, those things that were challenges, they're not there right now. And it's about just making sure we follow our systems that we've put in place that everybody's agreed to. And, yes, I have to keep after Ife about wearing her mask, but she does it, even though she's reluctant about it at times. But yeah, it's been great.
Absolutely. Thank you. I just want to name in particular some of the parks that we'll be visiting and some of the parks that we've been in collaboration with. So we'll be in Inglewood, and we're working with Shift Inglewood Youth Orchestra to promote there. We'll be at Hamilton Park, which is beautiful, beautiful space. We'll be at Washington Park partnering with DuSable. So we'll be right out in the lawn there. On the north side, we've got Rogers Park and Willie White, which is one of the locations for our Generations program. So it's just really, I think this is a special moment to see all of the ways in which these partnerships that we've been cultivating sort of come together in this moment, and to really, again, just, support the folks that have been doing really great work in those neighborhoods.
And it's a little nervous making for everybody, being sort of the first out of in the city of Chicago in this area to be able to do something, but it's been great, and it's been worth it.
Absolutely. Anything else before we sign off from either you, Scott, or you, Cheryl?
No, I just thank the Goodman again, and invite, I'm a Chicagoan, and invite people to come out and really get inspired.
Cheryl, we'll be sure we do you proud too out there, for sure.
Good.
Amazing. It's been really nice to chat with you both. I'm just checking here to make sure we're all okay. I think I'm really excited to see it and to watch it. I am a proponent of theater out in the streets and with and by and for the people, and so just really honored to have been able to support this project, and really excited to see it. So thank you both. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Ife and to people who are hopefully out of the building now. We welcome and invite you. Hopefully we'll see you in the parks. Thank you all for joining us.
Great.